Okay, I am live. I hope the lighting in here is okay. I haven't went live probably since maybe last year. It's been a long time since I went live. Okay, everything looks kind of different from the last time that I did, so it's different for the good. Anyways, I'm Nikki the Great coming at you guys with, I guess you would call it a testimony that I want to share with you, or a way how I navigated a situation I had a few weeks ago. I've been meaning to make a video about this since then, but haven't had the opportunity. So I want to go on ahead, go live, have a reason to go live. In case you did not read the caption, my son has a speech impediment. Okay. He's had a speech delay since when he first started talking. And so he has been in speech therapy since he was like 2. Okay. So he's a little older now. He's 7. And I assume you're watching this because either you have a speech delay or impediment, someone that you love, or maybe it's that you have a child that has this issue going on. Okay. And growing up, I also had a speech issue. My brother had a speech issue with stuttering. So maybe it's something that, probably runs in families or whatever. But either way, I want to share this story with you. So my son is in day camp. It's the summer. He's in day camp. It was like his first day or two. And I picked him up from his day camp, and he gets in the car and his face is all twisted. If you're a parent, you know your child. You know your child, you know what they look like. You can already tell a mile away by looking at them if something is wrong. So I said, "What's wrong?" He said, people were making fun of me at day camp today. I said, "Well, what were they making fun of you about?" And he said, they said, "Say school." Okay. He can't pronounce S's and the school that very well. Okay. So what ends up happening is he says, "Sure." Okay. That's what he says. So it sounds like he's saying sure, but really he's saying school. And so every time, I guess, while he was explaining this to me, every time he mispronounced a word or his impediment was exposed in his vocalizations, one of the other kids would be like, say it again," and then kind of laugh and make fun of him. And it really killed his little spirit. Okay. So by the time I picked him up, his face was twisted. He was really, really upset. And so I said to him, I was hurt. I was hurt because, as a mother, as a parent, you kind of feel the same things that they feel. All right. And so I said to him, I said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to talk, to the kids or whatever. He's like, "No, Mom, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Please don't, just let this go. I don't want to go back to day camp. I don't want to go back to day camp. I just want to stay home. I'm going to go to my grandma's house." I said, "No, we're not going to do that." I said, "We're going to go in there. We're going to talk to one of the teachers. We're going to talk to a counselor. We're going to get to the bottom of this." Because, when I was a kid, I'm a millennial. When I was a kid, we kind of had to suffer through bullying. We kind of had to suffer through being made fun of. We had to get, to suffer through that. I think nowadays in the school systems and in camps, there's like a zero tolerance, which there should be a zero tolerance for bullying. We have lost a lot of young lives because of bullying. A lot of people's value is snatched from them. There's a lot of dangers when it comes to bullying. Okay. So we should always educate our kids not to be a bully and what to do when a situation arises when they're being bullied. So I went ahead and turned the car around. I turned the car around, right on back to the camp. My son, he was kind of slouched over in the back seat. He didn't want to come in. He was just morbidly embarrassed and stuff. And so I said to him, I said, "I'm just okay. I'm gonna call." So I called up there, and I talked to the lady and the director of the day camp that he's at, and she said she was gonna nip it in the bud. So a day or two goes by. He still goes to camp, and another situation arises. And this situation was kind of worse than the first situation with the kids. Okay, what happened was, his counselor, the one that I guess watches over her group of kids or whatever, my son, he can't really pronounce lunchbox. Okay, that well. It sounds like something different, but because I'm his parent, I know what he's talking about. So he goes to his counselor, his teacher, and he says to her, "Where where should I put my lunchbox?" Right, and he said it with his speech impediment. Right, and so in response to him asking her that, she mimicked what he said and how he said it, right? And so she repeated it back to him, if you kind of understand what I'm saying. And she mocked him basically with how he sounds. And when he was telling me what happened, he asked her, why you sound like my voice? And she said, because that's what you sound like. And so another time I pick him up and he's in tears. He's really his face was even worsely how it was before. How he just was really, really upset about it. And so I turned the car around again. And this time I actually went inside the building. He didn't want to get out the car. That's fine. So I went inside the building. And it was a kind of a long walk because the parking lot and the building is a long, long walk. And I remember saying within my heart, I said, Lord, I ask you to be with me in a special way. I ask you to shift this atmosphere, help me to be diplomatic and respectful. And I'm saying all that in my heart because a lot of times, God allows us to go into situations to where our faith is tested, to where our Christianity is tested, to where our fruit of the Spirit is tested. And He allows these things to be tested to kind of exercise that so we can get stronger with it. Okay. And so in that moment, I wasn't thinking that, but all I could think of was, Lord, I need you to be with me right now in this moment. And so He was. I went in there, excuse me, I asked for the lady by name, beautiful young lady. She came up, and so I took her in the hallway. I was like, "Hey, let me holler at you real quick, sis." And so I explained to her, my son's situation, what's been going on with him, and I explained to her what he said about the interaction between him and her earlier that day. And of course, she denied it, which okay, that's fine, but I don't want it to happen again. Okay, because I know my son's not going to make up this entire story. He's not that creative, and so another teacher came up and she kind of um, she was sharing with me, how she handles kids that she has that, kind of have an issue with being verbal and stuff like that. So these speech delays, speech impediments is not something that just happens one in a million. It's kind of, I'm not going to say it's common, but not the only person there at the camp that, has this little issue, whatever. So she was just telling me and sharing with the younger counselor how she handles kids that have it. And so it was a nice interaction. Of course, I introduced myself to her and it went really, really well. And so I walked back out to the car and my son, he's still kind of slouched over in the back seat. And he said, Mom, what'd you say? I said, what do you think I said? I said, do you think I went in there and just acted up and hollered? I told him, I said, I don't act like that. And so I said, everything's going to be fine. And it was. That was probably almost 3 weeks ago, and he loves it there. Okay, we nipped that issue in the bud. God, He was there in the situation. He was there in the thick of it. And when I got my son home, I had to pour life into him. Okay, I had to encourage him. I had to tell him how great and wonderful he is because he genuinely is. I think as parents, even as loved ones that are caring for young children, all the deposits, all the emotional deposits, all the verbal deposits, all the time deposits that we're pouring into them, just as quick as we are pouring into them, the enemy, Satan, is snatching it out of them. So we don't ever want our children to be like in a deficit of just love. We don't want their cup to be empty. We don't want their tank to run dry. Okay. So I encouraged him. I told him, I said, son, by the time you get to be grown, you're going to be speaking so well. I said, you might even be some big, huge public speaker. You might even be speaking to millions of people. And I told him this situation that has happened these last few days, you'll be able to share it with your audience. You'll be able to share it with other people that you might come in contact with, younger people that might have a speech impediment. And I told him how strong he is and how handsome he is, how I'm so proud of him and how he's going to have such an amazing summer and he's not going to have no more issues. And I just spoke all that life into him. And it's been 3.5 weeks. He hasn't had any more problems. He loves going to the day camp. As a matter of fact, he told me, do not be early to pick him up. Pick him up at 5 o'clock, not 4:45. So when we speak things into existence, when we pour that into our children, those are things that God blesses and it flourishes. Okay. Because in no way do we want our child that has a speech impediment or a delay, we don't want the world to rip them of their value of speaking, even if other people have a hard time understanding it. We don't want them to process that as, well, I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to just let people do this, right? We want them to still be assertive. We want them still to have confidence and to understand that this therapy and stuff like that they're going through is only for a season, it's only for a short time, okay? And that's an amazing thing, and I'm so grateful and so thankful that God allowed that to happen for shifting the atmosphere. One more thing, and then I'm gonna let you go. We have to show thankfulness to God. Okay, there's a reason why our child has this issue. There's a reason for it. And so being grateful to God, embracing this as a faith walk, and just being able to be able to navigate this with them and to watch them grow, because now he is 7, but I remember when he was 2, and he might not see the enormous growth he has made in his vocabulary, but I see an amazing huge leaps and bounds just by these last 5 years of him, being in therapy, and he's communicating really, really well. And I told him that, and you should tell your kid that too, how much they're growing and how well they're doing. And just in case, if you just found out that they have a speech impediment, just know that in a few years they're going to be doing so much more better. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them below. Okay. I am Nikki the Great. Thank you so much for pulling up. And together we are growing, sharing, and thriving.